Friends, family, fellow truth seekers, have you ever felt that shiver down your spine, that whisper in your gut telling you something isn't right, even when everything seems perfectly normal? In a world that often teaches us to be polite, to conform, to ignore those little internal alarms, what happens when the very thing we're taught to suppress becomes our greatest protector? What happens when a hero doesn't speak a single word but sees everything, feels everything, and acts when no one else dares? Today, we're diving into a story that proves heroism isn't just about badges and capes. It's about instinct. It's about a bond so deep it transcends words. And it's about a silent guardian who reminded us that true evil often whispers, and the bravest among us are the ones who listen. This isn't just a tale of crime and rescue. It's a reflection on intuition, on resilience, and on the unyielding fight for justice in a world that tries to silence the most vulnerable. Get ready to have your perceptions challenged, and your faith in the power of a single, unwavering spirit rekindled. Every legend has an origin. Every hero has a beginning forged in fire, or, in the case of our hero, in the desolate, forgotten corners of a concrete jungle. Before he was a decorated canine, before he was a silent guardian, he was just Max, a scruffy, abandoned Labrador puppy, little more than a bundle of bones and fear, fighting for scraps in the harsh urban landscape of Detroit, Michigan. He learned to survive on the streets. Every growl from a bigger dog, every screech of tires, every cold, indifferent glance etched itself into his consciousness. He moved like a phantom, sniffing out the barest scent of food, dodging into shadows. One icy evening, he was nearly run over, a flash of blinding light searing into his memory, fueling a hyper-awareness that would define him. It was in this crucible of survival that fate intervened, in the form of Officer Anya Rivers, a sharp, empathetic, and profoundly persistent young officer in the Detroit Police Department's K-9 unit. Anya wasn't looking for perfection, she was looking for potential, and in Max she saw something others missed. He was wild, yes, a whirlwind of untamed energy and stubborn defiance. His bite work was ferocious, almost too eager, his tracking uncanny. The seasoned trainers were ready to wash him out, deeming him too much, unpredictable. But Anya saw beyond the chaos. She saw raw brilliance in his golden brown eyes, a fierce loyalty. She fought for him, spending long nights patiently retraining, reassuring, building a bond not just of command, but of mutual trust. She saw his aggression as an unwavering protective instinct, a force that could be harnessed for good. She knew, deep in her soul, that this seemingly renegade dog was destined for greatness. And greatness he achieved. Max didn't just pass K-9 training, he excelled, becoming a legend in the DPD. There was the time a brutal blizzard swept through Detroit, and a scared 5-year-old girl went missing from a broken-down apartment building. Teams searched for hours, hopes dwindling. Max, barely 4 years old, plunged into the snowdrifts, his nose a blur, never faltering. Anya followed, heart pounding. After what felt like an eternity, Max barked, a joyous, desperate sound, pawing furiously at a snow-covered mound. Beneath it, curled against the biting cold, was the little girl, nearly gone. Then there was the notorious ghost smuggler case. Illegal shipments were slipping through customs. Days of surveillance, dead ends. Max, during a routine patrol of an old warehouse district, kept pulling towards a derelict building. Anya tried to pull him away, but his insistence was undeniable. He scratched at a rusted door, whined incessantly. Inside, hidden behind a false wall, they found it, a massive cache of illegal firearms. Max hadn't just smelled contraband. He'd smelled a secret, a lie hidden deep within concrete and steel. His raw instinct, always true, but even heroes have limits. Max's illustrious career came to a reluctant end, not just due to age, but a deep injury sustained during a dangerous raid. A near-fatal fall during a high-speed pursuit, leaving him with a permanent limp. Anya's heart broke, but her pride was immeasurable. He was officially retired, but for Anya their partnership was far from over. She brought him with her to her new, quieter suburban community of Maplewood, Ohio, where she started the Comfort and Connect therapy program at the local elementary school. She knew Max's calming presence, his silent wisdom, would be a balm for young souls. She knew his instinct, however, was still razor-sharp, and soon that instinct would be tested in a way neither of them could have ever imagined. Maplewood, Ohio, a picture postcard suburban town. Tree-lined streets, neatly manicured lawns, and at its heart, Maplewood Elementary, a vibrant hub of youthful energy. On this particular Friday afternoon, the air buzzed with the happy chaos of dismissal. Children, like colorful butterflies, flitted from classrooms to waiting parents. Anya Rivers, now a comforting presence on her usual bench outside the school, stroked Max's soft fur, watching the joyful scene unfold. Max, ever calm, enjoyed the gentle pats from passing kids, his eyes half-lidded in contentment. Everything felt perfectly normal, predictable, safe. Among the throng, a quiet 7-year-old girl named Lily Mae waited patiently. Her braids, adorned with colorful beads, swayed as she hummed a little tune. Lily Mae was observant, deeply intuitive for her age, a trait her wise grandmother had always nurtured. Her grandmother, always punctual, was running unexpectedly late. A tiny knot of unease began to form in Lily's stomach, a feeling she couldn't quite pinpoint. Then he appeared. A man in his late 50s, impeccably dressed in a neatly pressed polo shirt and khaki pants. Wire-rimmed glasses sat comfortably on his nose, and his smile, broad and gentle, exuded an air of grandfatherly warmth. "Lily Mae?" he called out. His voice soft, almost a lullaby. He moved with a quiet confidence that made him blend seamlessly into the bustling schoolyard. He introduced himself as Mr. Silas Thorne, Lily Mae's grandfather, here to pick her up. Lily Mae's internal alarm bells, however, began to clang. Not loudly, not violently, but a subtle, persistent thrumming deep within her spirit. This man smiled like her grandpa, spoke her name like her grandpa, but something felt off. Her grandmother had always told her, "Honey, listen to your spirit. If something feels wrong, even if it looks right, it is wrong." She remembered vividly stories about wolves in sheep's clothing. And then, Max saw him. In an instant, the placid, gentle Labrador transformed. His ears swiveled, capturing a sound, a scent, a frequency no human could perceive. A low, guttural vibration started deep within his chest. A sound so primal it seemed to bypass Anya's ears and go straight to her bones. The hair on his spine bristled. A faint, almost electrical current seemed to crackle around him, a silent alarm ringing only for those attuned enough to hear. His eyes, usually soft, hardened, locking onto Thorne with an unwavering, primal intensity that chilled Anya to the bone. Max didn't just growl louder. He barked. A sharp, commanding bark that sliced through the joyful chatter of the schoolyard, silencing children and turning heads. This was not the playful bark of a dog wanting attention. This was a warning, stark and undeniable. Anya, a seasoned officer who had trusted Max with her life countless times, instinctively moved. She stepped between Max and Thorne, her hand unconsciously reaching for the empty holster at her hip. Thorne, caught off guard, visibly paled. His gentle smile faltered, now stretched too wide, a mask slightly askew. A thin sheen of perspiration appeared on his brow, betraying his calm facade. He stammered, protested, pulling out a seemingly legitimate school pickup authorization form. The crowd of parents began to murmur, some confused, some eyeing Anya and Max with annoyance. But Max wasn't deterred. He let out another, deeper growl, a sound that seemed to vibrate through the very ground. And it was that sound, coupled with the primal fear it ignited, that finally broke through Lily Mae's paralysis. Emboldened by Max's unwavering stance, she found her voice, small at first, then growing stronger. "He's not my grandpa," she cried out, her voice trembling but clear. "My grandpa smells like cinnamon and old books. This man, he smells like old wood and metal." Lily Mae recoiled slightly, not just from fear, but from a peculiar scent. Not comforting, but sharp, almost sterile. It was like cheap cough syrup trying to mask something foul. It was a smell Max's keen nose immediately honed in on, his sniffs growing short and rapid, a definite disgust wrinkling his snout. Her words echoed in the suddenly hushed schoolyard. A new shiver ran through the crowd, a collective realization that something deeply sinister was unfolding. This was the critical moment. How many times do we as adults ignore that little voice inside, that nagging feeling, simply to avoid being rude or making a scene? We prioritize superficial politeness over true intuition, often with devastating consequences. But a child, pure in her spirit, and a dog, pure in his instinct, reminded everyone present that day that sometimes the most dangerous wolves wear the kindest smiles, and that a quiet child's instinct and a loyal canine's warning can pierce through the most cunning deception. The air at Maplewood Elementary, once filled with innocent laughter, now crackled with terrifying tension. Officer David Jensen, the first local officer to respond, initially approached with skepticism. But as he saw the unyielding intensity in Max's eyes, heard Lily May's desperate cries, and felt the palpable fear emanating from Anya, his professional instincts kicked in. He separated Thorn from Lily May, and his gaze, like Anya's, gravitated to the man's worn leather briefcase. Max, now calmer but still hyper-vigilant, whined, nudging the briefcase, then scratching at it with an insistent paw. It wasn't just a growl anymore, it was an undeniable command. "Sir, I'm going to need to see what's in that briefcase," Officer Jensen stated, his voice firm. Thorn, his composure completely shattered, visibly paled. He stammered, protested, but Anya's unwavering gaze, coupled with Max's low, continuous growl, left him no choice. As Jensen unlatched the briefcase, a collective gasp rippled through the small group of officers and parents who had gathered. Inside, neatly organized, were items that turned their stomachs cold. A large bottle of prescription-grade lorazepam, its label indicating a dangerously high dosage. Several rolls of industrial-strength zip ties, thick and sinister. And most chillingly, a small, faded child's lavender baseball cap, embroidered with the name Chloe. It wasn't just a hat. It was a child's last whisper, a forgotten piece of a vanished life. Officer Jensen's eyes widened. "Chloe," he murmured, his mind flashing to a missing persons bulletin he'd seen weeks ago. Chloe Jenkins, a 6-year-old girl from Cincinnati, Ohio, who had vanished without a trace 6 weeks prior. The air grew heavy, thick with terrifying reality. Back at the Maplewood Police Department, the atmosphere was grim. Detective Marcus Mac Allen, a seasoned African-American detective with a weary but sharp gaze, took charge. He was known for his quiet intensity and an uncanny ability to connect the dots. Anya, though off-duty, stayed, her bond with Max making her an indispensable presence. Forensics worked quickly, confirming the ID was a sophisticated fake. But the real breakthrough came when fingerprints on the briefcase matched a national database hit, Elias Blackwood. The name sent a chill down Detective Allen's spine. Blackwood was a phantom, a ghost in the system, a chilling testament to how evil can wear countless faces. His criminal record was sealed, locked away for decades, hinting at a darker past. When it was finally unsealed, the truth was horrifying. A history of attempted abductions across New York, Pennsylvania, and Virginia, dating back to the late 90s. Each case eerily similar, always slipping away before charges stuck. The revelation about Chloe Jenkins was a punch to the gut. The despair of her family had filled the news for weeks. Now, a faded baseball cap hinted at a gruesome truth. Anya, watching the news reports of Chloe's grieving parents, felt a profound wave of nausea. How many others had there been? But the true, gut-wrenching twist was yet to come. Buried deep within a false bottom of Blackwood's worn leather briefcase, a forensic tech discovered a tiny encrypted USB drive. The cyber team, led by a brilliant, young black female coder named Dr. Lena Harmon, worked feverishly. The weight of every lost child pressed down as lines of encrypted data scrolled relentlessly across their screens. When Dr. Harmon's fingers flew across the keyboard, finally cracking the last firewall, a collective, shaky breath filled the room. What they found within, however, was worse than any algorithm could convey. The USB led them to Pavilion. It wasn't just a forum but a cold clinical marketplace of human suffering, meticulously categorized. Its interface was stark, chilling. Anonymous usernames, encrypted communications, and tabs that made their blood run cold. Candidate profiles, collection logs, drop schedules, and behavioral ratings. The sheer meticulousness was monstrous. Blackwood's files were horrifying. Grainy, long-lens photographs of children at recess, walking home, waiting for buses. Each file meticulously time-stamped and categorized by city. Cincinnati, Chloe, Maplewood, Lily May, and a dozen others. The SFX library contained terrifying recordings of children's voices, laughter, songs, and then, chillingly, whispers. Among the unread messages on a burner phone also found in the briefcase, one phrase stood out, chilling Anya to the bone. Maplewood, Lily May. Too noisy. Eyes on Ashland. Stick to the list. Too noisy. Lily May's brave scream, her refusal to be silent, had disrupted their perfect plan. It was a horrifying validation of the importance of speaking out, of making noise when something feels wrong. The terror mounted. They realized Blackwood was not a lone wolf. He was part of a terrifying network, and he had a partner. His scout. His muscle, still out there. Using cell tower data, Anya and Detective Allen traced Blackwood's recent pings near other elementary schools in the region. They noticed a disturbing pattern. Schools with low fences, proximity to wooded areas, and unstaffed pickup zones. Max, back at Anya's home, was restless. He whined, paced, his nose twitching towards the map of Ohio Anya had spread across her kitchen table. His golden eyes locked onto one particular school, Ashland Elementary, just 50 miles away, perfectly matching Blackwood's pattern. Max nudged the map with his nose, his body trembling with a suppressed urgency. His paw tapped repeatedly on one spot, his gaze fixed on Ashland, almost as if he were trying to point with an unwavering certainty that defied logic. Anya knew with terrifying certainty that Ashland was next. The air in the FBI's makeshift command center was thick with tension, fueled by lukewarm coffee and an unwavering determination. FBI Special Agent Ava Chen, a formidable and intuitive agent known for her relentless pursuit of justice, had taken charge. They knew Blackwood had a partner, codenamed The Current, in the encrypted messages, a scout, a collector operating under the radar. The pressure was immense. Blackwood's drop schedule indicated the next abduction attempt was mere hours away, and 6-year-old Jamal Jackson from Ashland Elementary was the next target. Max, back at Anya's small home, mirrored the mounting urgency. He was a bundle of restless energy, pacing, his ears swiveling at every news report, his body tense. Anya knew he wasn't just restless, he was hunting. She trusted his senses more than any technology. So, with Detective Allen's blessing, she brought Max to the region's schools that fit Blackwood's profile, allowing his instincts to guide them. Their focus narrowed to Lakeside Elementary, nestled beside a sprawling, densely wooded park. It fit the pattern perfectly: low fences, easy access to cover. As the dismissal bell echoed across the campus, a familiar scene unfolded. Kids burst out, parents queued up. But then, a subtle anomaly. Near a secluded gate leading directly into the thick woods, a man stood. He wore a bright yellow rain poncho, an odd choice for the overcast but not rainy afternoon. He wasn't on his phone, wasn't interacting with anyone, just watching, a silent, unsettling presence. Max, who had been lying calmly beside Anya, suddenly tensed. His nose twitched, his ears swiveled, and then a low, ominous growl rumbled in his chest, directed squarely at the man in the yellow poncho. This wasn't the wary growl for Thorn. This was a warning, sharp and immediate. "That's him," Anya whispered, her hand tightening on Max's harness. Detective Allen, seeing Max's unwavering focus, nodded. Suddenly, the man in the yellow poncho met Max's gaze. A flicker of something, recognition, fear, crossed his face, and then he bolted. He didn't just walk away, he ran, sprinting through the secluded gate and disappearing into the dense foliage of the park. "Get him, Max," Anya commanded, unleashing her loyal companion. Max, despite his age and the persistent limp from his past injury, transformed into a blur of golden fur. He launched himself forward, a magnificent, powerful streak of courage. He sprinted like a greyhound, his powerful muscles driving him through puddles and dense undergrowth, his barking echoing through the quiet afternoon, a clarion call of justice. The chase was short, brutal, and utterly professional. Max, with his years of canine training, knew exactly what to do. He didn't bite to harm, he bit to subdue. A low, controlled tackle brought the man down hard, his jaw clamping firmly on the man's wrist, just enough to immobilize him without breaking skin. The man screamed, a guttural cry of fear and pain. Anya and Detective Allen reached them seconds later. The man, whimpering, was Calvin "Cal" Hayes, a local transient with a history of petty theft, a small-time criminal who had stumbled into a horrifying partnership. In his pocket, Anya found a new list: 3 schools, 3 names, 3 timestamps. One read, Ashland, Jamal Jackson, Thursday, 3:20 p.m. Cal's desperate cry, "I didn't touch him, I didn't do anything," was met with Max's unblinking, knowing gaze. It was a silent judgment from a true guardian. Back at the police station, the air was thick with the acrid smell of fear and stale coffee. Agent Chen and Detective Allen sat across from Cal Hayes in the interrogation room. Cal was a mess, sweating profusely, his eyes darting like a trapped animal's, his skin clammy with fear. Agent Chen, calm and incisive, pressed him, her voice a low, silken threat, far more terrifying than any shout. "Blackwood called you the Current, didn't he? His little pawn?" That term, pawn, seemed to break him. Cal Hayes crumbled, admitting he was just the scout. He took photos, observed patterns, and sent intel to the master. He whimpered about how Blackwood had promised clean abductions, no screaming, no mess, just quiet, efficient collection. But the true horror was yet to come. Cal, trying to save himself, revealed the trial list and the scorecard, Blackwood's meticulous method of rating children, quiet ones, lonely ones, the ones who wouldn't fight, he confessed, his voice trembling. He admitted to 4 successful abductions before Lily May, and 2 failed. Anya, listening from behind the two-way glass, felt a cold, righteous fury ignite within her, a burning need to fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves. Max, sensing her shift, pressed his head against her leg, a silent promise of solidarity. This was the sickening truth. Blackwood and Hayes were not just kidnappers, they were collectors, selecting the most vulnerable, the most easily silenced. This was the dark underbelly of a terrifying, organized network that stretched far beyond their quiet town. The arrests of Elias Blackwood and Calvin Hayes were not the end. They were merely the beginning. What started as a local emergency in a quiet Ohio school had unmasked a global shadow. The information extracted from Hayes, coupled with the data from the Pavilion network, triggered a cascade of breakthroughs. FBI raids, fueled by the terrifying detail within Blackwood's encrypted files, swept across the country. More names, more chilling images, more cold files, cases once deemed unsolvable began to crack open, revealing long-lost children. Child murder. The true scale of the horror became evident when an Interpol flag popped up, one of Blackwood's many aliases, linked to a missing child in Prague, Czech Republic, 8-year-old Ilara Novak, who had vanished in 2021, dismissed as a runaway. But now, with a new lead, Agent Shen and Detective Allen worked tirelessly with international agencies. They traced every possible digital breadcrumb. Weeks later, fueled by the relentless investigation, a tip led authorities to a hidden safe house on the outskirts of Prague. Ilara was found, disoriented but alive. Her reunion with her family, though fraught with the complexities of long-term trauma, was a beacon of hope. When she received a small package from the task force, a postcard with a picture of a brave Labrador, a gift from Anya and Max, she clutched it tightly, a silent recognition passing between a child saved and the silent guardian who brought her home. Ilara emerged from the hidden safe house, a ghost of a child, her eyes dulled by years of fear. But when she saw that postcard, a flicker of light ignited in her eyes, a tiny, fragile spark of hope. Back in Maplewood, Max was no longer just Anya's retired canine. He was a local legend, a national hero. At a special ceremony at the town hall, attended by grateful parents, tearful officers, and a beaming Lily May, Max received a giant chew bone and a new, gleaming honorary badge. But his truest reward wasn't the accolades. It was the quiet moments. It was Lily May, now more confident, wrapping her small arms around his neck, whispering secrets into his ear, a silent understanding passing between them, two souls who had faced evil and emerged stronger. Lily May, once a quiet, observant child, now became a voice of empowerment. "I won't leave." Back at Maplewood Elementary, holding a small, stuffed Max toy, she stood before her classmates. Her voice, once a whisper, was now clear and brave. "If someone ever makes you feel weird or scared," she told them, her eyes shining, "even if they smile and say they know you, you can say no. You can scream. You can run. You can tell a grown-up. That's not being bad, that's being smart." Every hand in the classroom shot up in solidarity, a ripple of understanding spreading through the young minds. Her story, and Max's heroism, spread like wildfire. Local news features turned into national segments. Police departments across the country, inspired by Maplewood's success, began sending their canine units to schools more regularly, not just for security, but for connection. Children's books were written about Max the Silent Guardian. Anya, speaking at a national conference on child safety, closed her address with a profound message. "Our society often teaches us to rationalize away discomfort, to prioritize politeness over primal warnings," she began, her voice resonating with deep conviction. But Max and Lily May showed us that true safety lies not in ignorance, but in fierce vigilance, in the quiet conviction that if something feels wrong, it is wrong, and that courage isn't just for uniformed heroes, it's for every parent, every child, every person who dares to listen to that internal alarm. She continued, "So, let us carry Max's legacy forward. Let us teach our children not just to be kind, but to be fiercely intuitive, to speak their truth, to make noise when the world tries to silence them, because in the symphony of life, sometimes, the the quietest growl, or the smallest whisper holds the greatest truth. And in the face of darkness, those who listen are the ones who truly bring the light. The battle, however, was far from over. A new report landed on Agent Chen's desk, an anonymous tip, another alias for Blackwood, pinging in Prague. The network was wounded, but not destroyed. The fight for justice, like the quiet current of a river, flowed on. But thanks to a brave little girl, a watchful canine, and an officer who listened to both, the darkness had been exposed. Friends, the story of Max, Lily May, and Anya Rivers is more than just a captivating tale. It's a powerful reminder for all of us. Have you ever felt that intuitive nudge, that quiet warning that something isn't quite right? Don't dismiss it, trust your gut, empower yourself, and empower the young people in your life to speak up when something feels wrong, even if it seems polite or harmless on the surface. This story shows us that even after enduring hardship, even after being abandoned or suffering injury, the spirit of a true hero can never be broken. It reminds us that resilience can turn pain into purpose, and that deep down, we all possess an inner compass, a silent guardian within ourselves, waiting to be heard. If Mac's story resonated with you, if it stirred something within your own spirit, I encourage you to share this video. Let's spread this message of instinct, courage, and vigilance far and wide. What do you think was the most powerful moment in this story? Have you ever had a gut feeling that saved you or someone you know from danger? Share your experiences in the comments below. Your story might just be the one someone else needs to hear. And if you're new here and you want more stories that inspire, challenge, and connect, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the human experience. Join our community of truth seekers and story lovers. Thank you for listening. Stay vigilant, stay brave, and always, always trust your instincts.